When a Sigma empath detaches, the narcissist's entire illusion starts to collapse. What once worked, guilt, chaos, flattery, silent treatments, suddenly fails because the Sigma empath doesn't just walk away emotionally, they unplug energetically. And to a narcissist, that silence is worse than rejection. It's annihilation. Sigma empaths are not your average healers. They feel everything, but they don't fall for everything. When they detach, they do it with awareness, not anger. They've seen through the pattern, studied the manipulation, and realized one truth: peace is the ultimate revenge. And that's when the narcissist begins to lose control, not because the empath changed, but because the game no longer works. The power dynamic flips, and for the first time, the narcissist is left chasing the one person they thought would never leave. Stay until the end of this video because what happens next will explain exactly why narcissists panic when a Sigma empath chooses distance over drama. If you're new here, subscribe to Brainy Empath, where we decode emotional warfare and turn awareness into strength. And before we begin, tell me in the comments, have you ever detached from someone who couldn't handle your silence? The collapse of emotional leverage. When a Sigma empath detaches, the narcissist's greatest weapon, emotional leverage, collapses in silence. For so long, the narcissist thrived on the empath's reactions, the tears, the explanations, the attempts to fix what they kept breaking. Every emotional outburst was fuel. Every justification was proof of control. But when the Sigma empath stops reacting, the entire system of manipulation loses power. The narcissist suddenly finds himself shouting into a void, and that silence is deafening. The Sigma empath doesn't announce their withdrawal. It happens quietly, like a power outage that leaves the manipulator confused and desperate. The narcissist can't understand how someone who once cared so deeply could now look at them with neutrality. They keep pushing buttons that no longer work, replaying the same tactics that once guaranteed emotional chaos. But the Sigma has evolved. They've learned that attention is energy, and energy is control, and they're done giving theirs away. Inside, the narcissist begins to unravel. Their ego depends on reaction, and without it, they lose their reflection. Their identity was built around the ability to provoke, dominate, and extract validation, but now they're staring into the calm, unresponsive mirror of the Sigma empath's composure. That composure isn't apathy, it's wisdom. It's the understanding that emotional control isn't about suppressing feelings, it's about refusing to hand them to someone who weaponizes them. The collapse of emotional leverage marks the beginning of the end for the narcissist's control. Their manipulation stops being effective the moment the Sigma stops participating, and that's what terrifies them most, not being hated, but being irrelevant. The empath's silence doesn't just end the conversation, it ends the narcissist's illusion of power. To the Sigma empath, this detachment isn't revenge, it's self-respect. It's the moment they reclaim their narrative, no longer defined by someone else's chaos. And while the narcissist scrambles to regain control, the Sigma moves on with quiet strength. No confrontation, no closure, just peace that speaks louder than any goodbye. Silence exposes their dependency. Silence is the Sigma empath's most disarming response, not because it's passive, but because it reveals everything the narcissist works so hard to hide. When the Sigma stops explaining, arguing, or defending, the narcissist's dependency becomes visible for the first time. The very person who once acted untouchable suddenly seems restless, unstable, even desperate. The absence of emotional noise exposes the truth. The narcissist was never in control. They were sustained by the empath's energy all along. To the narcissist, silence isn't peace, it's exposure. They've built their identity on manipulation, and every game they play depends on your participation. When the Sigma empath withdraws from that stage, the narcissist's mask starts to crack. Without someone to provoke, there's no audience for their performance. Without someone to impress, there's no validation to feed their ego. The silence becomes a mirror reflecting their hollowness, a void they can no longer fill by stealing emotions from others. The Sigma's quiet isn't cold, it's strategic. They've realized that every word once spoken was used as data, every reaction mapped and exploited, so now they give nothing. No anger, no sadness, no curiosity, just calm distance. And in that quiet, the narcissist's world shrinks. They replay old conversations, stalk social media, attempt small provocations just to get a spark, any sign that the empath still feels something, but nothing comes. That's when panic sets in. Silence dismantles their illusion of power because it breaks the loop of dependency. The narcissist no longer knows who they are without control, and the empath no longer needs to explain who they are to be understood. The balance shifts. What once felt like dominance now feels like exposure. The narcissist starts to realize the horrifying truth. They needed the Sigma more than the Sigma ever needed them. And that's the silent victory of the Sigma empath. By saying nothing, they reveal everything. Their silence isn't empty, it's full of truth. It's the echo of strength that the narcissist can't manipulate, the calm that makes chaos irrelevant. And while the narcissist spirals, the Sigma walks away, grounded, peaceful, and untouchable, proving that real power doesn't make noise. It withdraws quietly and lets silence finish the lesson. Peace feels like punishment to the narcissist. To a narcissist, peace isn't comfort, it's confrontation. The quiet presence of a detached Sigma empath exposes something they've spent their entire life avoiding, the emptiness within. Narcissists are addicted to emotional turbulence because chaos keeps them relevant. When there's no conflict, no argument, no reaction, they're forced to sit with themselves, and that silence feels like suffocation. They mistake calm for rejection, peace for abandonment, because stillness removes their favorite disguise, control. When a Sigma empath stops feeding their drama, the narcissist's illusion of dominance begins to unravel. They start to wonder why their manipulation doesn't work anymore, why their guilt trips sound hollow, why their charm suddenly feels powerless. What once worked effortlessly now echoes back with no response. To them, this absence of chaos is unbearable. They thrive on emotional noise. Without it, they lose their sense of existence. The empath's peace acts like a mirror, reflecting the narcissist's internal disarray. The narcissist can't handle a world that doesn't revolve around reaction. Their power lies in getting others to bend emotionally, to dance between confusion and guilt. But peace refuses to dance. It stands still, unbothered, calm, and that's precisely why it's their punishment. The narcissist starts to chase the very storm they created, trying to provoke the empath into reacting again. Every attempt falls flat. The calm doesn't crack. For the Sigma empath, choosing peace isn't passive, it's an act of defiance. It's saying, you no longer have access to my emotions. They don't need revenge or closure. Peace is their victory. It's quiet, but it's devastatingly effective. Because the narcissist's greatest fear isn't losing control over someone else, it's realizing they never had control at all. And as the empath moves on with unshakable serenity, the narcissist is left in the noise of their own mind, unable to fill the void where manipulation once lived. That's the final irony. The empath finds healing in peace, while the narcissist finds torment in the very thing they claimed to crave. Detachment breaks the cycle of manipulation. Detachment is the Sigma empath's quiet revolution, the moment the game ends without needing to be played. For years, the narcissist's manipulation thrives on reaction. Every emotional rise, every attempt to explain or defend becomes fuel for control. But when the empath detaches, the narcissist's entire psychological structure begins to crumble. The manipulative cycle, built on guilt, confusion, and emotional dependency, suddenly finds no target to land on. The power dynamic collapses because manipulation can't survive in emotional neutrality. The Sigma empath's detachment isn't cold-hearted, it's clarity. They've learned that engaging with chaos only feeds it. By stepping back, they remove the narcissist's favorite playground, their emotions. The narcissist tries everything: provocation, victimhood, fake apologies, and emotional bait. Yet none of it works anymore. The Sigma's face stays calm, their tone steady, their attention withdrawn. That silence doesn't just frustrate the narcissist, it disarms them. They can't fight someone who refuses to step into the ring. The narcissist needs emotional access to maintain control, but detachment cuts that cord completely. They start to question their power, replaying every interaction, wondering where they lost their grip. What they don't realize is that they never had power, they only had participation. The Sigma Empath finally sees the pattern for what it is, a loop designed to drain energy, not resolve conflict. And by walking away emotionally, they break it forever. This kind of detachment isn't revenge. It's self-preservation wrapped in grace. It's the act of saying, you no longer decide how I feel. While the narcissist spirals in confusion, the Sigma moves forward, lighter, freer, untethered. The detachment restores balance. The empath's energy returns to its rightful owner, and the narcissist is left exposed, a performer without an audience. The beauty of this moment lies in its silence. No confrontation, no speech, just a quiet withdrawal that speaks volumes. The Sigma Empath doesn't destroy the narcissist. They destroy the illusion of control. And in doing so, they prove that real power isn't about winning an argument. It's about refusing to play the same game ever again. Self-control becomes the Sigma's greatest weapon. For the Sigma Empath, self-control isn't just restraint, it's emotional mastery disguised as calm. It's the invisible line between reaction and power. Narcissists thrive on chaos, feeding off every emotional spark they can ignite. They twist words, push buttons, and plant guilt like landmines. But when the Sigma learns the art of stillness, when every insult, lie, and manipulation is met with silence instead of surrender, the entire game collapses. The narcissist can't win against someone who refuses to play. Self-control doesn't mean the Sigma doesn't feel. In truth, they feel everything. The tension, the injustice, the sting of betrayal. But they process it privately, with precision. They've learned that explosive reactions only empower the narcissist, while composure leaves them confused and powerless. Every calm stare, every measured pause, every refusal to rise to bait becomes a psychological reversal. The narcissist expects emotion, the Sigma gives reason. They expect chaos, the Sigma offers quiet. That mismatch destabilizes them more than any confrontation ever could. In self-control, the Sigma Empath reclaims authorship of their emotions. They no longer let others dictate their state of mind. That's the true victory, emotional sovereignty. It's what allows them to walk through conflict without absorbing its poison. The narcissist, who thrives on disorder, begins to suffocate in the Sigma's peace. They can't manipulate what they can't move. They can't provoke what refuses to flinch. The Sigma's silence becomes a fortress, and inside that fortress, their energy is protected, their mind unshaken. What makes this power so profound is its subtlety. There's no performance, no aggression, just quiet authority. While others argue or plead, the Sigma simply observes. They see patterns before they form, predict reactions before they're shown. Their self-control turns them into both strategist and survivor. It's not suppression, it's precision, the kind of emotional intelligence that transforms pain into power. In the end, the narcissist doesn't know how to handle it. They can't fight calm with chaos. They can't manipulate patience. The Sigma Empath's self-control becomes their invisible armor, protecting their peace, preserving their dignity, and proving that true strength isn't loud or reactive, it's silent, deliberate, and untouchable. The kind of power that doesn't need to dominate because it already transcends. Energy redirection shifts the power dynamic. When the Sigma Empath stops feeding the narcissist's chaos and starts feeding their own growth, the entire power dynamic flips. What once drained them now fuels them. The narcissist's manipulation only works when the empath's emotional energy is directed outward, when they're explaining, fixing, or absorbing pain that isn't theirs. But the moment that energy turns inward, something shifts. The narcissist's influence dissolves, like a storm losing power over calm water. The Sigma Empath no longer serves as an emotional battery, they become their own power source. Energy redirection isn't just withdrawal, it's transformation. Every ounce of energy that once went into understanding the narcissist's moods now goes into understanding their own purpose. Every bit of compassion that was wasted on someone ungrateful becomes self-nurturing strength. This reallocation of energy is subtle but seismic. The narcissist feels it immediately, the loss of control, the fading supply. They panic, trying to reinsert themselves, using charm or guilt to reignite the emotional loop, but it's too late. The Sigma's focus has shifted from people to purpose, from conflict to clarity. The narcissist depends on emotional chaos to stay powerful, but when the empath refuses to engage, the narcissist tactics lose their grip. The more the Sigma centers themselves, the more they break the invisible chain of manipulation. The narcissist becomes irrelevant, like a shadow chasing someone who's already stepped into the light. This redirection is what makes the Sigma empath unbreakable. They learn to channel pain into productivity, heartbreak into mastery, silence into strategy. Instead of fighting for understanding, they build something meaningful. Instead of explaining their worth, they embody it. The narcissist can't stand this evolution because it's proof that their control was never real. Energy redirection is the Sigma empath's ultimate act of rebellion. No revenge, no confrontation, just growth, the kind that can't be touched, faked, or stolen. And in that quiet transformation, the narcissist experiences the one outcome they can't manipulate, being completely and permanently forgotten. The narcissists panic in the void of reaction. When the Sigma empath stops reacting, the narcissist's entire world starts to collapse. Their power was never built on strength, it was built on your attention. Every sigh, every defense, every emotional response was validation disguised as conflict. But now, the empath's silence feels like suffocation. The narcissist reaches for control in the dark, but there's nothing left to hold. They send texts that go unanswered, create drama just to provoke emotion, even stage pity stories to reel you back in, all in an attempt to fill the growing void your absence created. This is the part they never admit, that the void terrifies them. They don't know who they are without someone reacting to them. The Sigma empath's detachment removes their mirror, leaving them face to face with the emptiness they've spent a lifetime avoiding. The narcissist's panic isn't about losing you, it's about losing their sense of self. Without emotional feedback, their identity starts to blur. They begin replaying old conversations, revisiting moments where they felt in control, desperate to recreate the emotional pull that used to define their power. But the empath doesn't flinch anymore. Their peace becomes louder than the narcissist's chaos. Every silent moment the Sigma holds feels like a mirror reflecting the narcissist's own instability. The harder they try to provoke a reaction, the more invisible they become. It's psychological starvation, and it breaks them more effectively than confrontation ever could. The narcissist will call it cruelty, but it's simply balance being restored. The Sigma empath has learned the secret that not every battle needs a response, not every insult needs correction, and not every connection deserves saving. In the void of reaction, the narcissist finally meets the consequence they've always avoided: irrelevance. The panic grows as their tricks fail one by one. They can't manipulate what doesn't move. They can't control what doesn't engage. The Sigma's silence doesn't just protect their peace, it dismantles the illusion of power the narcissist built brick by brick. And when the dust settles, the empath stands calm, unbothered, and free, proving that sometimes the most powerful revenge isn't destruction, it's indifference. The Sigma empath's freedom becomes their downfall. For the narcissist, nothing is more terrifying than the Sigma empath's freedom, because it's a mirror of everything they'll never have. When the empath detaches, they step into a kind of peace that doesn't depend on validation, control, or emotional exchange. They stop orbiting around the narcissist's moods and start moving in their own direction, guided by inner clarity rather than chaos. But what the narcissist once controlled effortlessly now slips through their hands like smoke. The very freedom that once made the Sigma empath compassionate now makes them unreachable, and that realization drives the narcissist toward collapse. The Sigma's freedom isn't loud or rebellious, it's quiet. It's the calm of a person who no longer seeks to prove, convince, or fix. They don't need closure, revenge, or explanation. They've outgrown the emotional system the narcissist uses to survive. That kind of independence is devastating to someone who thrives on dependency. The narcissist begins to spiral, re-strategizing, trying to reattach through nostalgia or guilt, anything to make the empath care again. But freedom has rewired the Sigma completely. What once triggered them now feels irrelevant. What once drained them now fuels them. And yet, this freedom, this radiant calm, becomes the narcissist's downfall because it exposes their illusion. The empath's happiness without them dismantles the narrative they worked so hard to build, that they were the source of joy, meaning, or direction. The Sigma's growth is proof that the narcissist was never essential, only temporary. That truth hits harder than any confrontation. It's the kind of pain narcissists can't process because it forces them to see their true reflection, powerless, replaceable, and forgotten. The Sigma empath doesn't seek to destroy, they simply move on. But that movement is what destroys the narcissist. Their silence, their evolution, their unbothered joy, it all acts as a slow, unending reminder that control was never love and attachment was never power. The narcissist watches from afar, realizing too late that they never broke the empath, they forged them. In the end, the Sigma's freedom is both their liberation and the narcissist's unraveling. It's poetic justice in its purest form. No revenge, no words, just peace so powerful it becomes punishment. And that's how the empath wins, not by fighting harder, but by walking away without ever looking back. In the end, the Sigma empath's story isn't about revenge, it's about rebirth. When they finally step out of the narcissist's emotional maze, they don't look for closure, they become it. Their peace becomes proof that healing is louder than chaos, that silence can end wars, and that walking away is the most powerful sentence ever spoken without words. If you've ever been that empath, the one who loved deeply, saw clearly, and had to choose peace over people, know this: you didn't lose them. You found yourself. And that is the kind of victory no narcissist can ever take away. If this video spoke to your soul, make sure to subscribe to Brainy Empath and turn on notifications, because this channel is your space to heal smarter, not harder. Share your story in the comments below. Have you ever walked away in silence and watched everything change?